Hello, Dr. Kirk Collins here, founder of TomorrowDoctor.com. For those that follow me, you know that last month I turned better at 50, and that for the last 20 years, as an upper cervical chiropractor and health coach, I've been passionate about helping people live a higher quality life by educating, inspiring, and providing the best in holistic healthcare possible. I want to give you a special holiday gift to those early adapters who are supporting me and my growing team here at Tomorrow Doctor on our mission to help more people set and achieve their health goals. So, if you or someone you love are currently struggling with any type of pain or health challenge that is preventing you from living the life of your dreams, or if you're just passionate and committed to improving the quality and length of your life, we at Tomorrow Doctor believe we have something unique and special to offer you. So please take the time to watch this recorded webinar as this special offer ends on December 1st, and we don't want you to miss out on living your best life. I hope to see you on the other side. So the purpose of this webinar is to educate you on the different options that are available in healthcare today, inspire you to take more responsibility for your own health by addressing the underlying causes and avoid dependency on drugs and surgery, as well as provide hope and guidance in choosing the right health plan for you. My mission for the last 20 years has been to help people live a higher quality life, and I do this primarily through education, motivation, and personal health coaching. You can schedule a free consultation with me by going to my website, tomorrowdoctor.com. So before we get started, let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the healthcare system here in America, or what we call healthcare, which is actually really a sick care system. Typically in America, we wait until we have a problem, and then we go to the medical doctors and they're going to write some type of medication to cover up or mask those symptoms. And as a result of this so-called healthcare system not addressing the underlying causes, we now have the worst healthcare of any industrialized country, or at least we rank 11th out of the top 13th industrialized countries in the world. And we don't even make the top 30 in overall countries in the world in healthcare, even though we're number one in spending. We have epidemics just going out of control: fatigue, brain fog, digestive issues, obesity, diabetes, autoimmune conditions, neuropathy, cancer, debilitating spine and joint pains, headaches, organ failure, infertility, and now something called sudden death syndrome, where people in their 18, 19, 20, 30s, 40s, 50s are just dropping dead with quote unquote no known causes. So I believe that there's two big industries that are responsible for this. We like to call them big pharma and big food. And these are industries that control the narrative in the media as well, and what we're now calling big tech, which may be a third culprit here. And they completely ignore what true health is, a properly functioning body, and how stress lowers our immune system, how eating overly processed foods, excessive calories, and insufficient exercise are receipts for disease, and how exposure to all the toxins in our environment and our food supply have direct links to illness and suffering that we are all aware of. So many people come to me because they have a pain condition as well, or a health challenge. So pain to me is like that check engine light that comes on in our car. You know, it's annoying. It can be debilitating. It can rob us of the quality of life, but it's really our body's way of saying, hey, we got a problem here. We need to check it out, right? Something's wrong. But what do we do when we're in life? We're busy, we got things to do. And so we get out the duct tape and we just cover up that check engine light and we keep driving down the road. And then we wonder years and decades later why our health is in such disarray. So some of this duct tape we use is over-the-counter NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory medications, or even prescription pain pills like Vicodin or oxycodone. So we know these have side effects or unwanted effects. I don't even like the word side effects, right? It's not just some side effect, it's some totally unwanted effect of the medication. We know they're very addictive and habit forming. They can cause seizures, severe constipation. They can affect our breathing so much they can even make us go unconscious, cause debilitating fatigue, easily bleeding, bruising, decreased sex drive. The CDC latest report says that over 100,000 drug overdose deaths happened in America leading up to the 12 months leading up to April of 2021. That was up from 70,000, so almost a 30% increase in the last year, even though we have done our best from a governmental standpoint to try to limit the overuse of prescription narcotics. So this is a big, ever-increasing problem. It's not going to get better overnight, but this is something we have to start looking at and talking about as individuals and families. So cortisone injections are another common thing that people turn to. And a lot of people don't really know the risks or, again, the unwanted effects of these injections. They can actually cause osteoporosis, which is a bone loss. One injection, just one injection of a steroid into a joint is known to cause up to 8% bone loss in as little as 4 months. They can affect our vision, even cause cataracts. They can mess with our blood sugar. And if you're sensitive, even lead you from going from pre to diabetic. They can affect our immune system, our body's ability to fight off infections. They can acidify, dehydrate, and further degenerate the degenerative joint we're actually going to the doctor for help with. They can actually cause a loss of vision. And I've seen patients even gain 20, 30, 40 pounds as they mess with the hormone system from just one epidural or a couple steroid injections into a joint. So surgery is another sick care, degenerative healthcare option. So you go to the doctor, you have pain, they say, hey, take some over-the-counter stuff and rest. And if that doesn't fix it, come in, we'll give you some pain pills. If that doesn't fix it, then we'll stick you with some steroids. And if that doesn't fix it, don't worry, we'll just refer you over to the surgeon and they'll replace it. But we know surgery is not just expensive, $50,000 to $100,000 for an uncomplicated case that goes well and doesn't need follow-up. There's also the pain and recovery. You have the time that you have to go for healing and rehabilitation. You know, it could be 3 times a week for several months going to the physical therapist. There's no guarantee of result. Of course, we know a lot of those surgeries don't work, or we actually are worse after the surgeries. And when it comes to spine surgeries, about 50% of those, even if they're so-called successful, which a successful surgery by definition is that you don't die, it has nothing to do with feeling better. It's just if you get out of there and you don't die, that's considered a successful surgery. But let's say it's successful and you feel better and you get back to life. Over 50% of those cases need additional surgeries, usually within 4 to 10 years after the initial surgery, because they don't address the underlying cause of what actually created the problem in the first place. But it's big money and the system is hard to change. So this is what a spinal fusion would look like. This is a 2-region spinal fusion, the lower back, L4, L5, big screws drilled in there. Now, if this is something that you absolutely need, thank God we have some of the best surgeons in the world here in the US. We can't save everybody, but we can save a lot of people from surgery, and we've been successful in doing that now for over 2 decades. So, okay, Mr. Tomorrow Doctor, I can't take the drugs. I got to stop the steroid injections. I want to try to avoid surgery. What should I do now? So let's get into the solution. So the solution is this. You know, I like this cartoon before we go. You know, hey, doc, hey, Mr. Patient, since we've exhausted all the conventional measures, let's just do this one last desperate option and put you on this alternative natural medicine or therapy that only has a 96% success rate and virtually no chance to harm or injure you, right? So let's try the stuff we should have been doing all along, and let's get what I'm really excited to share with you and talk about is regenerative medicine. So what is regenerative medicine? So in healthcare, you kind of have 3 options from my perspective. You have the sick care, crisis care, a degenerative option. Go in, get some pain pills, get some shots, get some muscle relaxers, do some rest and ice and physical therapy and hope it goes away. And a lot of times it does in the early stages. You have what we call physical medicine, which is the chiropractors, the acupuncturists, the physical therapists, the massage therapists working together to fix the structural problems. I love physical medicine, own and work at a physical medicine office here in Bakersfield, California. And then when that doesn't work, or to augment physical medicine, we have what we're now calling regenerative medicine. This is something I've been doing since 2016 and have become an expert in this field as well. So let's talk about regenerative medicine. It's a branch of healthcare that uses safe and effective therapies that aim to regenerate, repair, or replace injured, diseased, or defective cells, tissues, or organs to restore or establish normal body function. So the most common types of regenerative medicine therapies are platelet-rich plasma, PRP, where you take your blood out, spin it, separate out the platelet and the plasmas, re-inject into the injured areas to stimulate your own body's ability to heal. A new therapy called alpha-2 macroglobulin, or A2M for short. This is an advanced form of PRP. And then ozone or prolotherapy, which have been around for years. And newer, in the last 5 years, really grown exponentially in the United States, is what we're now calling human cellular tissue products, or HCTPs, which come from umbilical cord allografts. We're going to cover that. Going to call those UCAs for short. Amniotic tissue allografts, which are commonly used for burn victims or wounds that won't heal, as well as degenerative arthritic or inflamed joints or muscles or tendons. And then we have something called exosomes, which are the secretions of the stem cells, or the MSCs, as we're going to refer to them. And then we have what we call stem cell therapy, which comes from 3 different sources typically, although you can get stem cells from almost anywhere in the body. Typically, for a medical purpose, we're going to get them from umbilical cords, the own patient's bone marrow, or adipose. So we're going to cover the stem cell therapy in some detail in this particular presentation. We're not going to get into the other stuff so much for time's sake. So let's talk about stem cells. What are stem cells? Stem cells are what we call undifferentiated cells, meaning they're still neutral, or they haven't changed into what type of cell they're going to become. So in other words, they haven't decided what they want to be when they grow up. So stem cells are literally found everywhere in your body. They hang out in what we call your perivascular area, or around your blood supply. And they're just there kind of hanging out, sleeping, taking a nap, and waiting until our body needs them, waiting until you have an injury, until a cell is under distress and sending out SOS signals. And then they'll wake up, they'll undock or let go, jump into the blood supply, and then travel throughout the body to the areas that need them to heal. So to be called a stem cell, by definition, they have to be able to do 2 things. These cells have to be able to differentiate or turn into a different type of cell. So they can turn into, say, a cartilage cell to regrow cartilage in the knee, or a bone cell to fix fractured or damaged bone, or a nerve cell to help damaged or dying nerve tissue, heart, liver, kidney, eye, so on and so forth. And they must be able to self-replicate, or what we call duplication, where one stem cell can turn into 2, 4, 8, 16. So they have the ability to continue on as they get used up, or differentiate into other types of cells. So there are many, many different types of stem cells. The stem cells we use, and most regenerative medicine practices use around the world, are called MSCs, or mesenchymal stem cells. You can also call them mesenchymal stem cells. Just depends on tomato or tomato, how you want to pronounce that. So MSCs are a type of adult stem cell. They do come from umbilical cords, and this is considered to be part of the mother's body. It's the connection between the mother and the baby, where all the nutrients and blood supply and everything that has to go from the mother to the baby to grow those 2 cells into a beautiful human being in 9 months have to pass through. So mothers go in for C-section deliveries. They donate the umbilical cord and the amniotic sac around the baby, and we can harvest that birth tissue, that human cellular tissue product, to use legally and ethically. This does not, I repeat, this does not come from aborted fetal tissue. That is illegal in the United States as well as most areas of the world. And there are some medical and rejection issues that we don't use them. We'll cover that at a later date. So they're healthy live births. They're multipotent, meaning they can turn into many different tissue types. They're non-tumorigenic, meaning they will not turn into cancer. Not one reported case of an MSC creating or turning into cancer in the millions and millions of uses that this has been documented worldwide. They are immunoevasive, meaning your immune system won't attack them, and they won't attack your immune system. So there's no tissue donor matching needed. These are universal cells. You don't have to match them or get them from a family member or harvest your own, which has limited ability to help you due to your own age in most cases, and health status. And there's no known side effects. So literally there is no known documented scientific side effects for getting MSCs, as long as they're processed and used according to FDA or other tissue bank guideline standards. So stem cell treatments are designed to help the body fix what is broken, not just mask it and cover it up. They aim to repair the damage that was done and improve the quality of the patient's life. Stem cells are what we call a regenerative type of health care. So the 5 most common uses for regenerative medicine, or stem cells, or these other types of products that we discussed, are for orthopedic applications. So that would be joints, spines, wrists, elbows, knees, shoulders, torn ligaments, things like that. Cosmetic, so a lot of doctors and aesthetics, cosmetic places are using these for face rejuvenation, breast augmentation, wrinkles, scarring, more youthful look, things like that. Actually stimulate collagen growth and all those types of things. Sexual health, which would most commonly be for women, urinary incontinence, or dryness, and then also the O shot for orgasms, increases the quality of orgasms, oftentimes for women and men as well. The P shot for men is generally done in the penis, and that can help with ED, or again, just more sensitivity and better sexual health. IV is what we're going to focus on today, and one of my favorite uses of this. You can do a whole body IV therapy. This helps the whole body have more of its resources to function as it was intended to do. In the United States, we're not able to use this for systemic use as far as diagnosing or treating or curing any diseases. But depending on your state and the doctor's willingness, the doctor can, in the right circumstances, recommend this or provide this just to augment the body's own natural healing potential, not as an FDA approved or as a treatment or a cure for anything. And then hair restoration. In fact, there's many hair surgeons, doctors that specialize in hair transplants, not even recommending those anymore until people have undergone regenerative medicine, because it works so often and is a much less invasive and more successful way to stimulate and regrow hair tissue. So what do stem cells do when you put them in the body? There's three main things we're going to focus on. They do lots and lots of stuff, but for brevity or time's sake, we're going to talk about they reduce inflammation. As we know, inflammation really is one of the major hallmarks of pain, poor health, ill health, diseases. If you go to cancer.gov or just go online and Google and search and YouTube inflammation and disease, you're just going to find thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of articles, scientific journals, reports of how inflammation causes diabetes, cancer, Alzheimer's, or let's not say causes, contributes to these types of things to happen. So one of the things that these regenerative medicine procedures and stem cells specifically do is reduce or eliminate chronic inflammation. You don't necessarily always want to get rid of acute inflammation. You sprain your ankle and you want that inflammation for a short period of time to stimulate your own stem cells and body to heal and to let you know not to go out and continue to injure that area that you injured. But chronic inflammation is very damaging to the body, the health, and really just destroys us. So if you inject it into the area that's inflamed, it's oftentimes going to reduce or limit the inflammation within minutes to hours. Definitely within days to weeks in most cases. If you do a systemic infusion, an IV infusion, you're going to de-inflammate the entire body, which oftentimes helps with autoimmune, conditions like rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, irritable bowel, and those kind of things. Again, it's not a cure for those, but it helps decrease the inflammation, which now gives your body a better chance to heal and repair. It also modulates the immune system, why we see many patients, I'd say the majority of patients, to get adequate number of stem cells infused in their body, their autoimmune disappears, goes away, goes into remission, or in almost all cases gets better. So it modulates the immune system. It can actually reduce scarring as well. So scarring and bone tissue that starts to grow, which we're going to talk about in the next slides as we talk about the phase of degeneration. Really one of the key things that it does, can actually remodel or eat up that scar tissue as well as slow it down and stop it from happening. So they just really help your body to heal and regenerate, and they all often, if not always, get really great results. Patients always ask me, is this going to help me? We can never say it's going to cure anything, right? We got to understand cure is a medical term. Cure is an FDA controlled term. Cure is a term owned by big pharma, right? Their drugs cure you. Their vaccines cure you, right? So cure doesn't mean to correct. We want to correct the underlying cause. We want to augment as regenerative doctors, as holistic doctors, as natural doctors, or natural-minded patients, or healthcare consumers. We want to augment our own body's natural, innate, God-given ability to heal. And that's what these stem cells always do. So I always say they're always going to help. To what degree is going to depend greatly on what quality and how many stem cells you put in there, and then what kind of terrain does your body have? What are you doing to supplement? What's your diet like? What's your nutrition like? What's your hydration like? Are you stopping, putting all the things in your body that have caused it in the first place? So stem cells always help because they're seeds. That's what they're designed to do. You put them in and they de-inflammate, they They stimulate and modulate the immune system. They help to reduce scarring. They'll secrete and turn into other cells that your body needs to use to heal, and they really just stimulate your body's ability to heal naturally. So the problem as we get older, we lose the number of our stem cells. Our stem cells become slower. They're less able to secrete all the things that we want to had to do. So when we're born, we have the highest amount or the biggest bank account of stem cells we're ever going to have in our entire life. And that's one MSC, or one stem cell for every 10,000 other types of cells in our body. So we're going to use up about 90% of these stem cells to grow. So as we go from being a newborn into a full grown human in our teenage years, we're going to use up 90% of those stem cells, and we're going to go down to one stem cell per 100,000 cells. And then as we go from a teenager and have all the accidents and injuries and traumas that we do as a child, and we get into our 30s, we're going to lose 2.5 times more of our stem cell healing potential. So those numbers are going to decrease quite significantly down to one per 250,000 other types of cells in the body. And then that dang hill we got to get over, 40s and into the better at 50 category. We're going to go from 1 to 250 to 1 to 400,000 stem cells. And this is where aging really starts to really get us. We start to see it at 30, right? What we see on the outside with wrinkles and losing some hair and maybe hair turning colors and those things. That's the outside signs of losing those stem cells in our body's innate ability to heal that goes along with that. And then in 50, it just gets more and more. And then we start to feel it. We're more sluggish. We get injured easier. We don't heal as quickly. The wrinkles get worse. The hair loss gets worse. We start to go gray. And as we get in from our 50s into our 80s, we start to lose up to 98% of our stem cells. So by age 80, on average, humans will have one stem cell per 2 million. And that's why as we get older, we're really at high risk of, dying from falls or having serious complications, getting pneumonia and dying, COVID killing off mostly old people because they're weak systems that they have, largely due to the stem cell exhaustion that happens as we get older. So to me, it makes sense to start augmenting stem cells at some time after 30, just as a wellness approach, just to give our bodies what it needs, kind of like replacing our hormones. For those of you that are familiar with bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, where men will augment their testosterone, their DHEA, to get their hormone levels back more like they were when they were 30 or 20, so that they have more ability to perform, with muscle mass and all those different types of things that you lose as you get older. This is another way to augment our body's natural ability to heal, is much, much more powerful. And I've seen patients where in their 70s, we just had a patient, we put stem cells in, and all of a sudden his testosterone levels are way up within weeks. He's 25% stronger in his muscle mass, not to mention all the pains and aches and stiffnesses are gone. And the energy and the focus and the vitality are coming back. So I'm a big, big fan of putting a plan together at some point to start just supplementing stem cells through intravenous infusions into the body as a preventative maintenance, as an anti-aging, as a longevity program. So a big, big, big fan of that. So again, just to we do use up our stem cells, we lose them, accidents, injuries, slips, falls. We're going to use those to heal up. Just aging will have that, the cells start to slow down. They don't replicate as fastly, so they take longer to self-replicate or duplicate, and then they don't secrete all the same things that we need to heal. So a new young stem cell is going to replicate about every 20 to 24 hours as needed. And an older, that means one stem cell can turn into over 1 billion stem cells, a law of duplication, right? 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 36, now you're into billions within 31 days. Whereas an adult stem cell, one that, after the age of 50, 30, 50, as we start to get older, it's going to take 60 hours for one of those stem cells to start to, and in this slide saying at the age of 65, it takes around 60 hours on average, right? So that means one cell can only become 400 cells in 31 days versus over 1 billion cells. So 400 cells to help your body, de-inflammate, turn into things you need to heal, versus 1 billion. It's easy to see why we get into trouble as we overdraw our bank accounts as we get older. So the term stem cell exhaustion is very important to understand. This refers to losing the number, quality, and productivity of those stem cells over time. And there's some good science on this. Got a journal down there listed for you to check out if you want to, that this is actually considered by many experts to be one of the top 9 hallmarks of aging, meaning the top 9 reasons why our bodies age and die prematurely. By the way, what's dying prematurely? Is dying at 80 premature, 90 premature, where the science tells us and the Bible tells us in the first book of Genesis that our bodies were designed to go 120 years, but how many people make it to even 80 in good health and vibrancy, So I believe stem cell exhaustion is probably in the top 3 to 5 for most people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, and you get up into your 70s, 80s, and 90s, is probably close to the top 1 or 2 reasons why people start to get frail and have issues and don't heal and have weaker immune systems and all those types of things. So again, supplementing stem cells to me is a no-brainer, and something that I've been pushing and promoting for over 5 years now. So to review that, several reasons why we have stem cell exhaustion as we get older. Number of cells decrease over time. The rate of their proliferation slows down. That's their ability to duplicate. And what those stem cells can turn into, what they can secrete, the amount of their secretions gets dramatically less over time. So tons of research. Patients are always, prospective patients always, where's the research? There is so much research out there. It would take you a lifetime to go through it. They've been studying this stuff for decades. Don't let your conventional medical doctor tell you, which they often mistakenly do. I don't think they do it deceitfully. They're just ignorant. They just don't know. They don't study what we study. They have a different field of medicine, right? They study drugs, how to give drugs, how to do surgery, how to inject steroids. They don't study how to regenerate, how to fix things on the most part. So Harvard has claims on their website, 1,000 scientists with one goal to discover cures with stem cells. Cambridge has a big stem cell institute. Mayo Clinic has a big one. Stanford Medicine has their own institute for stem cell biology, where they're trying to figure out how to patent and do. We're probably just a few years away from a patented stem cell treatment for osteoarthritis of the knee. They're already 3D printing lungs and implanting them into people, according to Tony Robbins' book, Life Force. And we're probably less than a decade or 3 away from 3D printing with stem cells hearts, so we don't need heart transplants. We can actually just make organs. The heart will probably be the first one that they'll get figured out. So a lot of good, interesting stuff out there. I like Tony Robbins' books.
Few hundred cells here that are working together. The heart muscle cells that Dr. Tim Nelson views highlight recent advances into regenerative medicine.
The simplest way to explain that is it's the opposite of degeneration.
Tissues in your heart, joints, and other areas can degenerate or break down with time or disease. Regeneration is the renewal of those tissues, which is something the body does naturally.
So one strategy is to try to find ways to improve the healing of your body. And another strategy is to actually supplement or augment the stem cells in your body so that we can improve the healing by transplanting stem cells into it.
Dr. Nelson and his colleague, Dr. Andre Terzic, use stem cells in their research because stem cells are responsible for growing new tissue.
So stem cells just means that they're seeds that can grow into many, many tissues.
Stem cells can come from a variety of places: embryos, which are not generally used anymore, umbilical cord blood, or adult bone marrow.
So the type of stem cell will dictate how many different types of tissues can emerge out of it.
Scientists can engineer stem cells into the type of cells they want. Here's how it works. Cells called fibroblasts are removed from a patient's skin. They are reprogrammed into what are called pluripotent stem cells. Those cells can be taught to become any type of healthy cells, such as these heart muscle cells. The idea is that the newly engineered healthy cells, when introduced to, say, those of a failing heart, will help restore or regenerate the function of the unhealthy cell.
This is one cell that's contracting, is working with many cells, and that gives the whole tissue the contraction pattern like a normal heart.
It becomes much more real when you have a personal connection to a disease or an illness where we don't currently have good options. And this is where people are asking more and more of the questions, what about stem cells?
The answer is researchers such as these at Mayo Clinic push forward to make regenerative medicine a reality for patients searching for successful treatment and perhaps cures.
So I would say, what diseases does conventional medicine have good cures for, right? And I think the answer to that is none. And so let's talk about the orthopedic use of stem cells. Let's talk about osteoarthritis, degeneration, what causes pain. So let's look at a knee x-ray here. So this is the cartilage or meniscus in between the knee. That's the femur going up and the tibia and the fibula going down. So over time, that cartilage, the meniscus, can wear down. And then when you take an X-ray or an MRI, you're going to see a loss of joint space there. So this is what we call phase 1 osteoarthritis of the knee, OA of the knee. And again, the cartilage softens, it loses its ability to absorb impact, it gets damaged more easily, and over time, you're going to see a loss of joint space in there. So there's a loss of the protective cushion that keeps those bones from banging into each other and allows us to have full range of movement and run and jump. This would go the same for the knee, would be the hip, the spine, the shoulder, a little bit different, but they all have some type of fluid, cartilage, meniscus, disc material for the spine that wears down over time with improper use, overuse, injuries, accidents, spinal imbalance, smoking, drug interactions, drug use, these types of things can cause these problems to happen. So 10 to 15 years typically to go from a normal to a phase 1, and another 10 to 15 years on average. Obviously, there's a lot of varying factors in there can affect it, but to go from phase 1 to phase 2. So in phase 2, we see larger sections of the cartilage get worn down. The joint can begin to lose its normal shapes. On this X-ray, we see the knee, the femur starting to slip to the side and be out of position or subluxated from that joint. As that's the joint alignment being lost. And you can completely wear the joint out and have difficulty even using it in phase 2. And then if you end up making it long enough, through the pain into phase 3, you can get bony spurs, growths that can go around the joint, complete loss of the joint space, cysts or cartilage may float around in the joint space, and you can lose your total alignment as well as the joint starts to wear out. And then typically will start to spread into the other joints or disc areas around it due to the lack of use and favoring of the other areas. So what phase are you in? There's really only one way to know, and that's to get an X-ray or an MRI. To find out. So sometimes you can have no pain and be in phase 2 or 3. Sometimes you have a lot of pain and just be in phase 1. So we really need to get some X-rays to see when it comes to knees, shoulders, elbows, wrists, the ankles, spines, things like that. Really getting X-rays or an MRI is critical to be able to know if we can help you, to what degree of success we can reasonably expect, and what all would be involved in that process. But what you need to understand is once your body starts to degenerate, unless you take away the cause of it, it won't stop, and it will continue to get worse unless you reverse the reason or use some type of regenerative cellular process to regenerate it. So really the first time in our lives, we have easy access now. It's become more and more affordable for more and more people as I've been doing this over the last 6 years, that we can actually not only just look to reduce or eliminate our pain safely without side effects, but we can also actually regenerate or reverse that cycle. So let's take a look at some of success cases that we've collected over the years. These are just a few of the before and after X-rays. These are real patients that have received one treatment of some type of cellular tissue project, where that was umbilical cord hemicellular tissue mixed with amniotic tissue. We did different things over the years. So, but it was some type of injectable, usually with stem cells involved or amniotic tissue, into the patient. So the one on the left there, that's the same patient, same knee. That's a before and after the stage 3 OA of the knee, extreme pain. In fact, this particular case, the patient went to the orthopedic surgeon and he said, "Don't waste your money on stem cell. They're trying to rip you off. There's no way, we got to replace this," and he decided to give it a shot. We thought it was a long shot as well, but he got a great result. He got nearly pain-free, back to full function. You can see there on the right, that's a new joint space, which means new cartilage is grown, most likely in there. An MRI would have to confirm that, but I don't know anything that can show a joint space increase in there other than new growth. So that's a patient on the left. The patient in the middle and the right, that's the same patient. We did both of the knees there. So you can see substantial growth in just a few months there, back in 2015. From October 16th to December 18th. These are before and afters with one injection of a couple ml of products into those knees. Near pain-free, back to running, back to playing tennis. This was a great result for this patient. So this is another before and after bilateral knee. We measured this one from 1.6 on the right knee up to 2.7 there on the medial or anterior part. And then on the left knee, looks like that's 2.94 millimeters up to 3.1. I don't think that does it justice on the measurement, because just visually you can see a huge increase there. But more importantly, patients reporting pain-free, back to all activities with no elimination in just a matter of months. after, or excuse me, yeah, just 2 months, 3 months after their injection. So here's two different patients, bilateral knees. This was one of our patients at our office here in Bakersfield, bone on the left there. You can even see her knees. Now, part of that was she was overweight, hard to penetrate, but her knees were worn out. She had a very difficult time walking, couldn't do surgery because of health problems, being overweight and diabetic and heart issues, couldn't take pain pills because the stomach was worn out from just years of abuse of NSAIDs. And we got a great result. 6 months later, roughly, she's down to 2 to 5 out of 10 pain. She's walking, she's doing things, she's happy. She avoided the surgery as well. So we got a great result, even though we thought that was a difficult case and gave her a low prognosis of long-term success. She's been very, very happy with us. The patient actually still follows up in the office quite regularly for ongoing treatment as well. So these are my knees on the right there. That's my before back in August of 2017, when I started playing tennis. I started to develop some knee pain. So I shot some x-rays and was shocked to see in my early 40s that I had worn out my knees with all the years of playing football and basketball and, running and the things that I did throughout my whole life. So I immediately injected, I did 3 mLs, so 1.5 mLs in each knee of an amniotic tissue product and a umbilical cord product that had probably a few million stem cells in it. And I got a great result. Took about 3 months for the healing to start. It took 6 months to start growing. And then a year later, I started to have new knees there. And I think this particular x-ray on the right is 2 years after, but I've re-x-rayed them every year and they still look that good. They're new knees. I play tennis, I run, I have 0 knee pain. Really, really, really excited for the results. I was personally able to get long-term correction on that. So barring any unfortunate accidents or injuries, I would suspect that my knees will last for decades into the future, even with the heavy abuse of playing 5, 10, sometimes, more 15 hours of tennis in a week, both singles and doubles at 50 years old, able to move around the court, oftentimes surprising people how quickly I can get to balls they think I shouldn't even get close to. So for me, again, priceless. You couldn't put a price tag on that for me. So the pros have been doing this, Tiger Woods, Ray Lewis, Kobe Bryant, Peyton Manning with his great comeback from his neck injury, Alex Rodriguez, and probably at this point, dozens, if not hundreds, of professional and probably collegiate athletes are using some form of regenerative medicine, human cellular tissue, whether it's PRP, A2M, stem cell type of stuff, umbilical cord, human cellular tissue to stay in the game, right? Just makes sense for them to do it. So in the US, we treat orthopedic issues with no issues from the FDA. Some people think it's illegal or the FDA says we can't do this. No, they just tell us that we have to properly consent you as the patient, let you know, hey, you can do cortisone, you can take drugs, you can do surgery, you can do physical therapy, you can live a life of pain, you could give up doing all your dreams and activities and picking up your grandkids and just suck down pain pills and risk a surgery that could kill you, leave you infected, leave you worse off. Or we could try this thing that has a chance to help you, that's safe, has almost never hurt anybody, and may just get you the quality of life back that you want and help you live that life of your dreams again. So knees, shoulders, hips, ankles, foot, elbows, back, necks, wrists, hands. Many, many doctors here in the U.S., including our office here in Bakersfield, do a fantastic job with the products that are available to us here. And average pricing on this can go anywhere from $500 to $350 to $500, depending on the quality of the PRP, up to $3,500 to $7,000 for human cellular tissue. If you're paying more than that, you want to definitely check to see you're getting value for the stuff you're getting. So in the U.S., we really, really feel like we do a good job on the orthopedic application stuff. Although out of the country, I do think we do a better job, and we do work with a clinic in South America, Colombia, and we have a new clinic coming online in Costa Rica at the first of the year. We're going to talk a little bit next on why it might be better to travel out of the United States if you're doing more than just treating a single joint or maybe 2 joints here in the U.S. Because outside of the US, we're able to expand and grow stem cells. In the United States, they don't like us to do that. They don't want us to do more than what they call minimally manipulate the cell. So it's hard to get 50 million, 100 million, 200 million stem cells at an affordable price that patients can afford to inject into the area with the restrictions that we have on the way we can process them. So if you are a loved one or someone with COPD, Parkinson's, diabetes, multiple sclerosis, long or post-COVID, cardiovascular issues, liver, kidney function, autoimmune diseases, you have organs that are shutting down, damage from the vaccine, which is now extremely prevalent out there, then traveling to our lab in Colombia or next year into Costa Rica, or as we grow and expand into other countries, may be your best bet. There, typically for an IV, we're going to be doing 150 to 300 million stem cells. We can isolate and expand them. We don't expand them over 5 generations to have the highest quality product. They're fresh. We control that process from A to Z, which we're going to cover now next for you. So this is our medical team, Dr. Julieta. She's our lab director. She's a medical geneticist. She's an expert in regenerative medicine stem cells. Her husband, Dr. Carlos, he's a medical pharmacologist. He's actually a published author, I think, on a 7th or 8th revision of a book that they use for pharmacology in medical universities in Central and South America. Dr. Samuel is a professor in anatomy, and he's our injector. That's him on the bottom left there, injecting a patient's knee. That's Dr. Julieta up there in the top 2 pictures, working in the lab, which is attached to our treatment facility. And Dr. Natalia is our medical director, sweet lady who helps our patients pre and post care and helps work up the plans to qualify you to see if we can accept you as a patient. So we do have a state-of-the-art laboratory where we can expand cells. We control the process all the way from selecting both the mother and the father as donors, pre-screen to make sure they have no, we actually genetically test them in our lab before they give birth. We do a detailed family history to make sure both sides don't have any histories of any, chronic or genetic diseases. And then we collect the specimen with our own doctor, bring it to the lab, test it more than they do here in the US. We genetically test it throughout the process to make sure there's no mutations. And we, on average, use, I'm told, only 1 out of 5 of the cords that we collect because of the strictness of what we do. In the United States, they do screen them to make sure they're not infected. They have mothers is all they look at. And there's kind of a crapshoot on what's the quality of the cords you're going to get. You buy the cords, you bring them in your lab, you use them, it's still safe, but you just really don't know the quality. In Colombia, I believe we have the most control of any lab that I've seen in the world, and how we can control the whole entire process all the way from when the parents first conceive until when that tissue is extracted, tested, cryopreserved, and then reanimated and grown, and not cryopreserved and shipped to you. You walk in, they go directly out of the lab, and within minutes, they're being injected into your body, not frozen, weeks, months, or years later, like we have to do here in the US. So this is me back in June last year with all those doctors at an event we had. We hosted some kids from Ireland and the UK that had Duchenne's muscular dystrophy. We accepted these patients as a compassionate use. We knew we couldn't cure the disease, but we knew that the research was very solid that these kids' quality of life and the length of life would extend almost certainly if we used enough stem cells. So we did 300 million stem cells on all these kids, and every one of these kids are doing dynamically better post follow-up. And some of them are coming back for repeat treatments every 6 months because it is a rapidly advancing degenerative condition. It needs a lot more intensive care than most other conditions. So great group of doctors. This was my 2nd trip down to Colombia, and I want to get a picture there with them at the event. And they were very, very gracious to do that with me. So we do have a professional tourism agency that will help with travel, book hotels, stays. You can stay at a 5-star hotel for $100, eat some of the best food in your life. The food is just better there, no preservatives, and it's in a volcanic area where they grow the coffee, so everything just tastes better, grows better, from the meat to the vegetables to the fruits. We have guides and interpreters that pick you up at the airport. If you want to do tour packages and go see some of the beautiful sites, that we can definitely help you with that. And I've been there twice, and I plan to go back again early first quarter next year. So definitely could give you some personal tips on making the most out of that trip as well. So can you imagine a life with no or less pain? What would it be like, to wake up and have no pain? I've had patients call me the day after, say, oh my God, it's like I got to pinch myself. I literally have been a 10 out of 10 pain for decades and I have no pain. Is this even real? Is this going to last? I can't believe it. What if you were only 50% better? What would that look like for you? How happy will you be? Your friends, your family, all those other people that have been supporting you. We know that a higher quality life is possible. If you're not looking at stem cell therapy, if you haven't started using stem cell, there is a higher quality life that is not only possible, it's extremely probable and realistic for you to achieve. And it's my personal passion to help you discover that. But that really just starts with a single decision. You took a decision to watch this webinar, and I congratulate you for that. Many people would have just skipped on by this and is, oh, I'm too busy, or, oh, I've read something negative about this, or my doctor told me this isn't going to work with me, or some other negative anti-propaganda stuff. You took the time to watch this video, and that tells me you're a type of person that is proactive in your health. But there's another decision you got to make, and that's to talk to an expert, talk to somebody in the field that can help you, make a plan. And I'm telling you, you're going to find few people as passionate, as caring, and as experienced as me, Dr. Kirk Collins, Tomorrow Doctor, to do that. So I believe you're worth investing in. I'm willing to give you 25-30 minutes of my time for free to schedule a consult. You just go onto my website, tomorrowdoctor.com. Click on the form there, schedule it, go right to my calendar. I'll get notified, and we can jump on a call in as little as hours to days. And we can talk about what's going on. What have you tried? How's it affecting your life? What options have you tried that have worked, haven't worked, and what options do I think you should start to look at, and potentially refer you either to a local doctor in your area that does good human cellular tissue, refer you to our office here in Bakersfield, or out to Colombia or Costa Rica when we open up next year. So this is our Black Friday offer for you as we wrap up. I'm willing to give you 30 minutes of my time. It's a 30-minute call, usually about 25 minutes by the time we get on and get off for the next call. So I call it a 25-minute health discovery call. I usually charge $47 for that, which is still a very nominal fee, but I'm going to waive the price of that till the end of the month as our Black Friday sale. So no charge for that. You can go to tomorrowdoctor.com and schedule that. And then if we decide to do, let's say, an IV, we can talk about joints and all that kind of stuff and pricing, and we'll give you a discount on that as well. But just talking intravenous IV, just a wellness infusion, or just not to treat any disease unless we're going to send you out of Columbia, and our doctors can actually treat and diagnose those diseases and look at your medical records that we covered. But just a wellness infusion. If you want to do it here in the U.S., we do have a line from a quality lab in Texas that has 40 million cryopreserved first generation domestic U.S. grown MSCs. Typically, we're going to charge $7,950 for that IV, and we're going to reduce that by $3,000 for $4,950. And I can tell you, a lot of doctors out there, a lot of regenerative specialists are selling a few million cells, calling it 30 million, but it's really 30 million total cells, with only about 1 to 3 million of those actually being stem cells. I don't think they do this necessarily deceitfully. They just may be, new in the industry, uneducated, maybe been misled by the labs that they use. But I'm an expert. We own our own lab. We run our own labs. I have over 30 doctor friends that are very, very, very invested in the last decade into this field. So the quality of our product is bar none the top of the field. So when we say 40 million cells, you're going to get 40 million actual MSCs. Now they will be cryopreserved, so some of those are going to die off when we thaw them out. On average, somewhere between 10 and 20%, in my opinion, depending on the processing, will die off. So you're still going to get a good juice, 30 times more than the average person out there for half of the price. So that's an excellent quality. If we can work you up and get you out to Colombia or Costa Rica next year, that's really the best quality stem cells you're going to get anywhere on the planet. That price this year, I put a little asterisk right there because our price on that this year is $13,500. We're going to knock $1,000 off of that. It's going to be $12,500. If you get this all done by the end of the year, that it will actually, the Black Friday sale extends out to December, but we got to get your deposit done. So you just got to book your call with me by December, and it could take us 5, 10, 15, 20 days to actually get everything booked and paid. But we need to collect a deposit this year to lock in 2022 prices, because our prices are going to go up with inflation, all those things. Everybody's prices are going up. I don't know how much they'll go up. I would say somewhere around $1,000 to $1,500. So what we sell now for $13,500 $1,500 for 150 millicells could very likely be $14,000 or $15,000 next year. So if this is something you're looking at doing, time is of the essence for multiple reasons there. I would tell you comparatively, other labs charge $25,000 to $50,000 for 120 to 150 millicells. So our pricing is still at its full price. And even when we go up 10% or 15%, we're going to next year is going to be extremely reasonable. And again, for the best, I believe, quality products you're going to find out there.
What will your last 10 years look like? Will you be quick enough for a game of tag with your grandchild? Strong enough to embrace every moment? Will you grow old with vitality? Or get old with disease? It's time to decide.
I just want to thank you for, again, taking the time to watch through this video. You can go to tomorrowdoctor.com and book your call with me to now, and you also see a little video on there. We will update our website soon. Not a lot of educational information on there, but you can definitely book a session to speak with me on the phone. You know, that video still gets me. I've seen it, probably 100 times, especially now. My dad's dealing with some serious health challenges, turns 80 here in a few days, and has really deteriorated over the last couple of years. And I'm very excited. My 80th birthday present for him is 40 million stem cells. I got him sitting in the freezer, going to drive him down on Friday. And I'm very excited to get those into his body finally after years of trying to talk him to get some stem cells in. Old dad is listening to his son, the chiropractor, instead of his medical doctor. So extremely excited to help him out. Extremely excited to help some of you out on this webinar. If this webinar found your way, weeks, months, or years after I recorded it here, then my prayers are answered that you get a chance to find a solution to whatever brought you searching into this arena. So God bless you guys. Again, thanks for your time. Hope to see you on the other side. Stay positive every day in every way. Keep getting better and better, and the solutions will be found. Take care.